Welcome back to the Nicole Holland Show. Nicole Holland here with Troy Broussard. He's a parallel entrepreneur running 5 different companies in the marketing and technology spaces. He's also a best-selling author, speaker, and father of 4. His wife and family are Brazilian, and Troy has homes in Florida, Oregon, and Brazil, frequently traveling between them. And he's coming to us from his home in Florida right now, where he has this beautiful plank wall behind him. I was just talking with him offline about, and it's such a pleasure to have you with us, Troy. So thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for graciously hosting me. I look forward to it.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited to have you on here today to talk about your solution, Membrandt.
Mhm.
Before we really dig in, can you give us a high-level overview of what is this? What is this software? Who is it for, and how does it help?
Sure. Well, we all know that we're in this massive economy of education and training and courses, and it's something that over the last 5 years has just exploded and has absolutely no slowdown in the next 10 years, right? This is just a massive industry. People that, like yourself and myself, that grew up in the traditional education system, that's just not cutting the mustard these days. And there's a lot of uh, training and software and courseware available now that's kind of like the new alternative to going to like a community college or a tech school, to be able to go out and get a master class training on specific technology or skill set. And so this has been growing in the marketplace for a few years now, but we're kind of on this verge of just some massive changes, and they've already started. The momentum has already started building, but a lot of people haven't really caught on to it yet, because the way that most educators and trainers and teachers are creating their courses is the way they were taught. And it's been the way they've been taught for 5 and 7 years. And so that's just ingrained into them. I've created a lot of courses. They've worked out fine. This is the way I do it, right? But right now, it's kind of like the Henry Ford transition, right? We have, if you give everybody what they want, they would want a faster horse right now. But the reality is there's this Model T, and it's a whole different model, right? And that's what Membrandt is. Membrandt is the Model T to learning management systems. It is a complete platform that takes your audio and video training content and courses and educational training and takes it off the desktop and puts it at the palm of your hand. It puts it in the palm of your user's hands, where all they have to do, and I use a brand new iPhone XS, but all you have to do is look at it and it logs you in. It recognizes you, remembers your password, logs you in, takes you right back to where you were in the training and the consumption of content. And this is a huge transition for people because of the way society has evolved and changed, right? The phone, I don't know about you, Nicole, but like when I grew up, right, you were, the one thing you never, ever, ever left home without was your wallet, right? That was just like beat into you. It was like a teenager, as a guy, like it was a rite of passage to start carrying a wallet. Like you looked forward to having some kind of membership card or something to put in there because, hey, I've got my wallet now. Like I'm a man, right? And so that was just ingrained into culture. But today, I honestly don't even have my wallet 9 times out of 10. In fact, I got a little tiny money clip that does nothing more than hold my license, my Amex Platinum card, and $100 bill. And that's it. And it's like as thin and slim as possible. And that goes with me. But what never leaves my hand is my cell phone. And that is kind of the evolution of society now. The cell phone is everywhere, right? And so Membrandt is all about capitalizing that on those trends and leveraging that to the advantage of course creators and content producers so that they can really get the most value and bang and ROI out of everything that they produce. Is that,
Fabulous.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And so just to just to like reword and correct me if I'm wrong, just to put it in some simple terms.
Sure.
So Membrandt is a learning management system, so a tool that online course creators and experts can use to disseminate their information to their students, to whatever audience they want to. It's like a paywall kind of audience. It's a specific group that signs up for a course or some kind of content, and it's for specifically for the mobile device. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Now, this is something that confuses people a little bit, so I want to be really clear on this. Um, Membrandt creates apps, but Membrandt is not in and of itself an app. It's a platform. And the reason I say that and why that distinction is really clear and really important is because if you go up in the Apple store and search for the Membrandt app, you're not going to find it because Membrandt is a platform, it's a tool, and it's a platform that we use to create custom apps that are your custom apps. So when we create an app for a client, it becomes their branded app published under their account in their Apple developer ID in the Apple store, under their, overview. So it's, it would be the Nicole Holland app. It wouldn't be Membrandt that somebody would go to. And that's a really, really important distinction, right? Because there are, obviously competitors out there that do different things. And, some of the big ones, things like Thinkific and Teachable and those types of platforms, primarily they still focus on desktop, which is the first major distinction. And I'm going to come back to why that's really critical in a minute. But that's kind of the primary thing. Their target is desktop. And they do have a mobile version. But if you were to tell somebody, go get my course on Teachable, it's hurting your brand. It's not your audience. It's Teachable's audience. You don't own that audience. It's just like an email list, right? Inside of Membrandt, when it's your own app, it's your audience. Now, we don't have it available just yet, but in the next 30 to 60 days, we're going to be rolling out push notifications into the app so that you'll be able to just push out notifications and in-app reminders to people. Now, you can't do that kind of stuff in somebody else's platform. You have to own the list. You have to own the asset. And so that's a major distinction that is really important that people understand. As professionals, coaches, trainers, any type of speaker, author, somebody that has a very top-notch professional image, that's getting so much more competitive today than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago, right? 5 years ago, that was, it was the wild west. Today, it's super competitive. And so there's been some tactics, right? Like go out and create a book and become a best-selling author to separate yourself from the competition, to create that gap and really show and demonstrate your professionalism. And I'm a best-selling author, right? I went out and did that myself. But having your own app that's branded to your company, it's like another notch in your belt of professionalism. And creating apps is very expensive, right? Very expensive. When I started this path, I looked to create an app for myself, for my own training and courses and usage. And I was getting quotes back in excess of $50,000. And they were only going to do a small subset of what we're doing here in the app platform today. And so, it's very expensive. You're going to spend tens and tens of thousands, if not 100,000 or more, to develop a really good quality app. And so when you can launch that to your own audience for a just small fraction of that price through our platform, the person receiving it doesn't know the difference. Like they look at that and it's a huge prestige thing that they see the quality and the professionalism of your company and your brand.
Fabulous. Thank you for explaining that. Also, just to note, the time we're recording this is actually way before people are going to be listening to it. So I'm willing to bet that by the time this airs, you'll already have those push notifications and a bunch of other really neat features that are at the moment of recording still a bit in development. Um,
Probably. Probably. We release new features all the time. We just rolled out a couple weeks ago internationalization of the app, for example, so that we have clients in multiple languages now, in Italian, French, Spanish from Spain, from Madrid, and also Russian. So, multi-language support was one of the things that we recently added. And those features, those are the things that make a platform so much better. Like, people that you don't want your own custom app, trust me, because you think that, okay, I'm going to write the check. It's going to cost me $38,000 to get this app developed. I'm going to write the check. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to launch my own app. That is not where it ends. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. Because from that moment on, you will have to have a development team on retainer for the lifespan of that app, because you're going to have bugs. You're going to have fixes that you have to implement. People are going to use it and request new features to be added. iOS, Apple is updating iOS all the time. Some Apple operating system change will come out, and all of a sudden your app will need to be upgraded in order to be compliant. Those things go on all the time on the app side. And so that's why having a platform behind it is so much more meaningful, because all of my clients that joined up before we had the internationalization feature, for example, when that came out, they just got it pushed into their app. There was an update and everybody got a new feature added in. So yeah, that's kind of one of the beauties of the platform, is it's kind of like crowdsourcing, right? Because if one of our clients reports a bug, we're going to fix it for all of our clients, and all of our clients' apps will be automatically updated with that fix. And so that's really one of the huge advantages of being on a platform that's stable, as opposed to going it on your own and just reinventing the wheel all the time.
Awesome. So to clarify that, basically, as long as somebody is a Membrandt customer, they will continue to have all of the development necessary, um, rather than having it, you know, on their own, rather than having to pay more to get things fixed with their own developers. Being a customer of yours gives them continued access. And if I'm understanding correctly, also wherever the person joins from, because I know your prices are always going up, that that initial starting point, that's what they pay always, or am I catching anything off?
Yeah, it's a software as a service model, so it's a SaaS company. So there's a setup fee involved, because we have to create the app, we have to get it submitted to Apple under your platform, and all of that. Sounds really involved, but we've got it mastered. We can get it done in a week to 10 days is what we tell clients. I've done it in as fast as 48 hours turnaround. So it just kind of depends on if the client is ready to go, if they have all their content ready to go, if they're very quick to respond to emails and get their branding locked in, and those types of things. But and there is some time that it takes Apple to approve. That being said, we have a 100% success rate with Apple and approval, so we've never had any issue there. So there's a little bit of setup. And then there's an ongoing monthly fee, just like any SaaS product. So just like QuickBooks Online, you pay a monthly fee for QuickBooks Online. You get all the updates and enhancements every time they come out with new fixes. When the tax codes get updated, when they add new features, it just gets built into the platform. And it's the exact same model with us. The monthly fee covers not only the improvements and the ongoing benefits and new features that we add in, but it also covers your hosting and the whole back end that we have on a huge back end. That we use the same back end and technical infrastructure to host all of these videos and audios that Netflix uses to serve up content on Netflix. So I mean, this is big back end, big money invested in having a very scalable solution. And so that's what that monthly licensing access fee provides for. Yeah. So, there's a one-time setup fee and then just an ongoing, but that ongoing is going to just continue to open the doors of features and enhancements and improvements all the way through. And, important that you said, and I'm glad you pointed out, as that, you kind of know the way I operate. So you kind of hinted at it, and without even really knowing, but that's exactly what I do. When somebody comes in at one level, I grandfather them in for life. So for example, today there's a different higher tier pricing for a multi-language setup, because that takes a lot more of our time and effort to get somebody on a multiple language platform. But all the people that bought before that feature was released, they got it just grandfathered in. And so, that's the way I operate. I never raise and change pricing around on existing clients. And so, yeah, that's our policy.
And I super appreciate you sharing that, because
Yeah.
it really is not everyone's policy. And I know
It's not,
personally,
including the big dogs, right?
right?
And I got to tell you, like, I've just named two big dogs in the industry, and they've both pissed me off, to be quite frank about it, because I paid $9.99 for Netflix for forever, and all of a sudden, if I want to keep my account, I got to pay $14.99, or I lose my account, right? QuickBooks has done the same thing. I paid a certain fee for a long, long time, and then all of a sudden, I've got to pay more. So that really, really, like, irks me and rubs me wrong, and it's just not something I practice in my own business. That's the beauty of having your own company. You can make the rules and change the policies.
Absolutely. Yeah. Recently, I also, I had been a customer of a SaaS platform for about 3 years, and I was paying three figures a month to continue, even though I wasn't really using all of the service. I mean, there's no sense in me changing platforms. And then
Sure.
all of a sudden, I got an email saying, oh, we're changing our model, we're changing our pricing structure, blah, blah, blah. And then I looked, and they wanted to more than double the cost. And I'm like, I don't even use this. So I chose to take the time to remove all of my content from there and go down to the bare minimum. And I thought, this is a really bad choice. I appreciate that they're opening up to new customers and they're growing, and that's great. But I think when you don't value the people who've been with you since you had more bugs and you had more, it's like, I feel like we grow together.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah,
really
I
appreciate
totally
that.
share that mentality. I think that's a really good analogy, right? When you start up with somebody and they're in that early adopter phase, there are some growing pains, and so it seems only fair to share in the benefit side of the equation too, right? So yeah,
Risk and reward.
yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Well, thank you for that. I do have a bunch of questions
Yeah,
here.
please.
Let's see. So, as far as somebody gets the app,
Hmm.
and this is somebody who has content. So for example, let's play with me.
Hmm.
So I have a done for you service. I have had a done for you service for quite some time,
Sure.
and over the next little while, I am productizing one of the services that I offer. And
Hmm.
so I can see how, having something like this could be really valuable. At the same time, I don't have a DIY program right yet. I plan to,
Yeah.
but not right now. So there's a couple questions there.
Mhm.
Number one, when somebody has the Membrandt platform app created for them, is it limited to a course, or is there an infinite number? And then the second question is about the interactivity. So, is this best for somebody who has a DIY info product typed course, or is this better for somebody who has something that has a coaching component and live interaction, or both?
So, okay, great questions, and I appreciate that. The first thing to say, because I kind of skipped over this, and it's really important that your listeners understand this, is that I believe in a very open architecture kind of development style. So our platform already right now, we have clients in production in that integrate with Infusionsoft, Entreport, ActiveCampaign, HubSpot. I've already begun integrations with Aweber, Mailchimp, and Drip. So I mean, that's like 8 out of the top 10 in the industry right there that we already have integrations for in production or in development on right now. And that's really important to understand, because I know that this is not going to operate in a black box. You're going to have other things that happen in your business. So you talked about fulfillment, and fulfillment involves a lot of different stages, right? It involves an escalation going from A to B to C. It's kind of a workflow based process. And because we integrate with all of these robust, sophisticated CRMs, and because we have built-in tag support for them, the power of using this, even if you never roll out a course on it, using it for management of your own fulfillment to your clients as a client services company, is incredibly powerful. So I've developed, best practices around that myself, so that if I'm fulfilling a service and I have 5 stages that they need to go through, they need to go from the intake stage to stage 2 to stage 3, then we can literally just apply a tag inside of Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign or any of the other platforms, and the app knows that they have that tag, and it changes up the content that they see. And so now it gives them the next set of videos of, hey, we need you to do this, and here's where to go next, and here's how to give us what we need for these next set of requirements, right? So just like, in preparation for this interview and the scheduling process with you, as there were checkpoints of things you needed to do, and that's stages of that, those could literally have been videos in an app that were dripped out, and as somebody watched this one, it would open up the next one and just go through those stages. So that integration is really, really tight with the CRMs to give you just total control of how to use it. And you referred to, like, are there limits on how many courses and how they can use it and all of that? No, there aren't right now. And the key word is right now. And I want to be really abundantly clear on this, because this is one of the motivations for somebody for coming to join up with us now, as opposed to waiting a year. Because what's going to happen as more people recognize that the Model T is driving off the factory line and that they don't want a faster horse, our features are going to be more and more restricted and different costing tiers. And this is really standard, right? If you go sign up for Zapier, you get up to so many zaps for one price. If you want to go to more zaps, you got to pay another price. And if you want a premium integration, you got to pay a third level of pricing, right? Right now, we don't have that. Right now, you get the kitchen sink, you get everything that's there. The only distinction in pricing we have right now is single language versus multi-language. Other than that, there's no distinction. So if you want to roll out 20 courses under the same company, under the same app, you're totally free to do that. It's included. Not only is it included, but it's included in our setup service. We will set up every bit of that. Literally, you can give us your Vimeo account login and tell us what to download. My team will go download all of the content, upload it into your site, set up the branding, set up the navigation, create the icons, the color palettes, the branding, get it all configured for you, and get your approval on it before we launch. So it's truly a white glove service. I have one client that, and I kind of almost hate to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because my team will probably virtually slap me for saying this, but we had one client that had over 700 videos that we set up for them included in the service. So we're, when I say white glove, I mean it. We kind of go through the limit on that. Now, in time, that's not going to be scalable. As we add thousands of users into the platform, we will start adding restrictions. And I don't know what those will be. There's lots of different metrics. It might be around the number of courses that you get included in the price. It might be around the number of users that can register for the system. It might be in terms of the number of videos you upload. I don't know. But I can guarantee you that those restrictions will come in as we grow and scale.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So just to wrap my head too around the use cases. So as you mentioned, so I'm a podcaster, and I have a some people would say frustrating workflow, although for me it's perfect because I know what I'm doing here and I know who I want on my show. But I do make people jump through quite a few hoops to get to this point, and there's I have my reasons for it. So I'm a podcaster. I also am a guest on other people's shows.
Mhm.
I also have, like I said, my done for you high level clients. I also have um, a productized service, and I'm working on my DIY.
Yep.
So, and I mean, every day of the week I might have a new idea. So in terms of, and some actually at this point, nobody at the point time of recording, nobody is able to just hire me. They also have to jump through quite a few hoops, and they have to fill out applications. We go through a process. When I have the DIY, that's going to be another story, that'll be readily available. My podcast is readily available, but to work with me in another way is not something you can just say, okay, I want to pay and I get it. So in
Yeah.
terms of I'm just trying to like have a concept of like the home screen on the app, for example. Like,
Mhm.
are there are there things that are you able to do some paid and hidden, some paid and shown, as well as some free and shown and free and hidden
Yep.
opportunities? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because remember, the thing to really understand here is that it's tag controlled, and that seems like not such a big deal, but the number of use cases that enables is just mind-boggling. So let me just kind of walk you through some different use cases of how that can be used and how our clients are using it. Um, one of my clients, and he's actually a mentor as well, and he just fell in love with the app, and so he became a client. And so, I have 2 or 3 coaches that I work with, as well as charging 30K for my own coaching program and numerous other things. Private consulting with me is very rare. Probably at the last client I took on was over a 6-figure client. They were a 9-figure level company that had done $160 million in sales. So I tend to consult with the real high end people, so I get the limiting aspect of it. And I'm running 5 companies, so I don't really have time to do much private consulting, but I do typically work with 1 or 2 at a time. And so I follow my own advice. I eat my own dog food. So I tell people, if you want to improve your business, improve yourself. And if you want to improve yourself, invest in yourself, which means invest in coaching. And I spend a lot of that on myself as well. And so this mentor of mine, we get on the calls every Friday, and now with the app, it's so awesome. And it's actually like, I'm so glad I should have given him the app for free. I won't tell him that, but I should have, because now it's a benefit for me as a client of his, because now when we have our coaching call, he has a private tag assigned just to me. And so it's tied to my login. So when I log in, it shows a course, which is, a course can mean anything, and it doesn't use the word course. It's just, that's the nomenclature I'm giving it, but a collection of audio recordings. And those are my coaching calls with him. So when we get off a call, he just, boom, presses a button, uploads it, and it just shows up to me. And because it's tagged to me, none of his other clients see it. It's a personal experience that I have with that app, and it's personalized to me. So this is really powerful for coaches and trainers and private consultants that want to, provide really easy access to their data, to their clients and to their end users. Now, that's one use case. You talked about free versus paid. Absolutely. Now, what's important to think of when people think of apps, and most people really don't get it. They think of apps, they think of games, and they think of marketing apps. They think of, oh, I'm going to do this to build an audience. This is not a marketing app. This is a fulfillment app. This is an app that somebody has a login and a password to get to, and you have to authorize them to get into the app. Now, they could have free content in there, but they still have to have a login and a password to get into the system, right? So once they log in, depending on what tags you've given them, you might have any user gets this free tag, and there's free content that's available to them. And then you might have additional content or additional courses that is restricted based on tags that you provide through your CRM. And that 1-2 punch is so, so important because it allows you the flexibility of doing anything you want. So for example, my app, the IS Mastery with Troy Broussard app, which is Infusionsoft Mastery, that's the book that I have. It's kind of what I'm known for. I'm probably one of the top 2 or 3 guys in the industry with Infusionsoft, been using it for many, many years. And so I have an app that has my content in there, but it also has free content. And for anybody that buys my book, there's a bunch of training videos that come for free with my book, and they can get access to that for free through my app. But now, if they're a client of my inner circle, if they're one of my coaching clients, if they purchase one of my courses, then that is also available within the app, but only if they've been tagged to receive that content. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. I just want to ask you a little bit more about this from
Sure.
a practical standpoint. And one thing I meant to ask you earlier, I might as well throw in just for a quick yes or no. With the Membrandt app, is this also something people can use on desktop?
No, it is not. And
Only mobile.
yeah, and let's
Okay.
talk about that. I'm really glad you opened that up. So
I've got more
um,
questions about the other thing though, so I'm
yeah,
coming
no,
back
but
to
I
that
really
too.
want to make sure people understand this
Definitely.
because people at first have some pushback to this, but I want to let you know some stats and why it really doesn't matter. Today, the average US American consumer, so the average US consumer spends 5+ hours in front of their phone. 5 hours a day in front of their phone. Now, if you think they're spending 5 hours a day on top of that in front of their computer, you are sadly, sadly mistaken. Just doesn't happen. They are in front of their phone for 5 hours a day. Very different distinction. Now, here's the important thing to understand, and all of this data is publicly available. This isn't, from my private research or something. This is private or public available data. What you'll find out when you research this is that when they're on their phone, 92% of the time, 92% is almost statistically 100%, right? So let's just call it what it is. If they're on their phone, they're in an app. And so this concept that, oh, I have, this mobile friendly website version, I don't need to have an app, makes no sense. The stats don't bear that out. If you have a mobile friendly desktop LMS, no one is logging into it and watching your video training content on the phone. They're not doing it. And the reason is it's cumbersome. You got to scroll around on the phone. The interface is not designed for the phone. The streaming doesn't work well. The features don't work. An app has specific features designed for that experience, all right? Trying to cram a 27-inch monitor iMac optimized display into a 4.7-inch window on your screen and calling it mobile optimized is like an oxymoron. Like, it shouldn't even be able to use that. All they're doing is shoving the same amount of content and reformatting it into one big long scrollable thing, right? It's a terrible user experience. Now, let's talk about that a little bit, because the app allows you to do things. We do things in the app that nobody is used to doing, and it's so incredibly powerful. So first of all, you can download the content onto your phone with an app, and you can listen to it even when you're on a plane going cross country and you don't have Wi-Fi, or don't have to pay the $29 Wi-Fi fee or whatever ridiculous charge they stick you with on the airport, right? You can, if you're in a third world country and data rates are really expensive, while you're home on your Wi-Fi, you can download the content and then listen to it in offline mode. Now, I'm a developer, but I'm also a content creator. I'm a trainer. My content means a lot to me, and I don't want to get ripped off, right? And so we've built in privacy protection and protection of your content into our model. And we use the same system that even Amazon Prime uses. So when you go check out a movie from Amazon Prime, you get a period of time that you can view it. And then after that period of time, it's expired and you can't get to it offline again without logging back in online and re-enabling. And we do the same thing. So we allow you to download it. We allow you to watch it for 48 hours. And if you want to continue watching offline after the 48 hours, you have to re-authenticate. And all that means is you flip the Wi-Fi back on, you log in once, and you log right back out. You can flip the Wi-Fi right out. All we want to know when you log in is we go into your CRM and we make sure that you're a valid paying customer. And that's to protect my client's IP and the protection of their data. So we do things like that. How many times have you watched training content and the new vogue thing to do right now, because membership sites don't work. They just don't. They're a dying breed, and the stats are bearing that out. People have tried to build offline communities. They've tried to build their own community within a membership. They've tried to put community experience, and it just doesn't work. And so what they've really kind of resorted to nowadays, and what's in vogue to do, is to put your membership content inside of Facebook. Right? Inside of a private or a secret group in Facebook, very common experience, right? Have you ever tried to watch an hour-long video recording that's sitting inside of a Facebook group while you're out taking a walk? I did this.
And that you can't go back, and you can't
go back.
Return to the place you were at.
It doesn't remember where you were at. You can't turn the phone off and go into turn the screen off. And so now you can't put it in your pocket, because you put it in your pocket and it bumps the screen and it pauses the video and it resets it, or worse yet, taps and goes to another page, and you go back and you're like, son of a gun, now I got to find out where the heck I was in this hour-long thing and scroll it. I literally went on a 10-mile walk the other day, part of my fitness routine. I'm down like 70 pounds this year. And so I'm really active, and I've got my own thing. And I actually have my own app for that called the Big Man Plan, helping big guys that are over 100 pounds overweight. And so I eat my own dog food. I use my own app for my own platform. And so, but I was listening to some content on somebody else's platform, and I was so frustrated as I'm trying to listen to this. Here it is. I'm in Florida. It's like 140 degrees here. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's winter. I'm out there on a 10-mile walk. I'm sweating my tush off. I'm trying to put the phone in my pocket. I can't, because it's bumping the screen and resetting it on the Facebook video. So now I'm holding it. But now what's happened is my hands are sweating, and it's like I'm almost dropping the phone. Well, I had to mortgage the unborn child to buy this iPhone XS, right? The last thing I want to do is bounce the son of a gun off the sidewalk as I'm, out there sweating to the oldies, right? So I am sitting there, and I'm literally wiping my hand, the sweat, and then holding it with 3 fingers like this on the one dry spot of the case so that I don't drop the phone, because I can't put it in my pocket. I can't do it. So we design around all of that stuff. When you put a video in our platform, we allow you, in our video player, we allow you to just tap a button and switch it to audio mode. And now we extract, and you don't have to upload the audio separately. You just upload the video, and we extract the audio only stream from that video and allow you to listen to just audio mode. So now you can turn the screen off, stick it in your pocket, and it's just like listening to audible.com. In fact, you can even do the speed up at 1x up to 2x, 2.5x, whatever. You can do the speed ups, you can do all of that stuff, but have the convenience of treating a video like an audio. And for all of those content creators, and I said the hour-long video, and I said it as a snide remark that probably maybe went unnoticed, so I'm going to drill into this for a minute. For all of those that aren't aware who your target audience is and where your target audience is at, they're on a phone, and they don't have an hour long to listen to your training content. You need to break it up into short, sweet, 6, 10, 12-minute little video clips, or even better yet, and I know this pains people to hear, audio. Video was created because of kind of the Dan Kennedy thud factor approach of give them more. A video is perceived to have higher value, so go create a video. When you and I both know, Nicole, as you look at these courses, they're just like ScreenFlow and Camtasia courses. They're like, there's no reason now I have a film school class that I do subscribe to, and yes, that makes sense to be video. You need to see it. But 95 out of 100, they should just be audio. They should just be audio, and they should probably be 12 segments of 6-minute audios instead of 1 hour and a half long meandering webinar that never gets to the point, right? But even if you're stuck listening to that hour and a half long meandering thing, and you've only got 10 minutes to listen to it, and you're in your car and you just want to stream it onto the Bluetooth speaker in your car through the stereo, you can do it with our app, and it will remember where you left off. So when you pause it and walk away, even if you were to log out of your iPhone and go grab an Android phone of yours that you have as a backup and log into the Android, it will remember where you left off on that video and audio and restore that user experience. So, those are some of the key big distinctions of why you've got to be in an app. And to just drill this home a little bit further with a couple more stats, the average mobile e-learner, so we're looking at e-learners, and we're looking at mobile versus tablet versus desktop, okay? The average mobile e-learner spends 41 minutes per day more consuming your content. 41 minutes per day. That is insane. That is a huge metric. And if you're not tapping into that, then how likely is it you're going to sell them the second sale, the third sale, the fourth sale, if they never consume the first thing that they bought because you make it inconvenient for them and force them to log into a computer? Instead of, if they're stuck in traffic, just tap a button and put it on their car stereo while they're in traffic, or take it to the gym and put it up on the Apple TV at the gym in front of the treadmill through the Apple Share or through Chromecast and throw it on the big screen. That's the kind of like portability that makes mobile so much more important than desktop. You can't even begin to compare to those stats on desktop. And what's really funny is that when you compare mobile, it's the same as mobile to desktop, because people don't take their tablet with them in the car. Even though it's an app, it's still something they've got to remember to take with them. And the cell phone's always there. So those are just like crucial points of why this horse is turning into a Model T.
I'm so glad you shared all that. Your energy is infectious, and yes,
Yeah.
you've convinced
I'm
me. So
passionate about this, because
totally.
I want, like anybody that's a content creator, you do it because you have a love for what you do and you want to inspire, you want to lead. My big man plan, which is working with just guys that are 50 to 150 pounds overweight. I'm only working with a small group of people, but they're down 86 pounds in 4 months, 65 pounds in 5 months. Like, these guys are hitting huge things, and it's making life impacting changes. And I take that so seriously. And it's like, I want to do everything I can to make it easier for them to stay in touch with me, to stay engaged with me, because if they're not engaged, they're not going to stay in a weight loss program. They've got to be in that daily communication. And me being able to drip out a video every single morning to them through the Big Man Plan, and I do that. I have a 30-day challenge, and every day it drips out like multiple videos to them that just are dripped out over time. And it keeps that engagement in play. And so, yeah, I'm passionate because I want to have an impact.
Awesome. Troy, so good. And actually, you just answered a couple of the questions I wanted to ask you anyhow, which is if this is for Android as well or iOS only. So I'm getting that it is for both. I love that you talk about, because even though I do have an iPhone now, I had to do it because of my career and needing to be able to access Apple Podcasts. However, I'm still an Android girl at heart, and I have Chromecast. So I loved hearing that. So that just made a
Yeah.
lot of sense to me too, because sometimes I think, well, it's hard sometimes to see things on the phone, or sometimes I like to listen to things while I'm cooking, but I want it on the TV. I don't know about you, but I'm like a big
Yeah.
jazz fan. So I'll
Hmm.
pop up Spotify with the better speakers on the television while I'm in the kitchen cooking. So what I just got from this is through the Membrandt app that's custom created for each customer, each client, each client, people can also they can put it up on a bigger screen. They can put it up on different speakers, also in the
Yep.
car, like you mentioned.
Yep.
So it's not just that it has to come out of their phone, but it's leveraging the mobile technology.
Absolutely. And even now, this doesn't work currently on an iPad. We will be going to an iPad, but the reason we haven't done it is just what I said, that the consumption on an iPad is the same as a desktop. And so we will eventually go there, but it's not the highest priority. But what it does work on, and see, iPods are so darn expensive, right? They're super expensive for an iPad. Even used ones are $300 and stuff, right? But here's what's interesting. And on the Android platform, right? The Android devices are really cheap. You can get an Amazon Fire tablet for $49. Guess what? Our app runs just fine on an Amazon Fire. And so let me talk about a use case. Here's a really cool use case. Just this past weekend, I was hired to speak at an event. And when I came up to the event, I brought a gift for everybody of an Android tablet for everybody at the event. It had a bunch of free content that the people that had hired me to put on the event had given me. So I put a bunch of their content on the app. It was branded to them. It was set up to them. I did this without them even paying for it. I did it as a surprise. And then they were so blown away. Of course, they then bought it and subscribed to it. But then we created, and here's like the tag use case, right? We created the tag. We created a category called events, and we created tags for the different events that they had hosted. And we put the live footage from those events into those tag-enabled areas in the app. And I literally, that night after I spoke and I handed out the app to everybody on their own Amazon Fire, and they had this content, that night I edited down my 2-hour recording, published it that night. And when they came in the next morning, they already had all the content from what I had just spoke about in their app that they could go listen to on the way home and on the flight home or whatever. So, even though it's not on the iPads, because of the cost difference, that doesn't really, not a lot of people, you wouldn't buy an iPad for everybody in the room. But a $49 tablet, you can do that. I mean, if you think about like 3D print costs, this is really, really cool tactic of usage of our app for people that run high-end services, fulfillment, coaching. Imagine you said a done-for-you type service or a done-with-you type service. Imagine somebody pays you $12,000 for a service, and in the mail, you mail them a tablet. And it comes
Troy,
preloaded with all of the training and the content for how to get the most out of your service.
I love this because
Yeah.
as soon as you started talking about the $49, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, oh yes, that's such a
Braingasm.
good idea. And then you started talking about what you did, and I was like, this is amazing.
Have
So
you seen those little, like Alibaba sells them everywhere? And it's in vogue now to send out these little mini LCD video. It's like a postcard that has a video built into it. Those things cost $40-50 a piece.
yeah,
Like if you buy 100 of them or something, you might be able to get them for $30. But I mean, you got to spend a ton. It's like within $5 of just buying an the 7-inch Amazon Fire tablet and mailing it to them. So
amazing.
it's right in that same price. This is a really interesting tactic for anybody, even if they sell, like they're doing workshops that are 5K workshops, or I did it at a workshop. It was like a 3K workshop that I hosted. I gave everybody my private clients. I had a client fly in from Belgium a few weeks ago. And as you know, I've got like 10 grand worth of video and audio equipment around me here and multiple 4K cameras and all of this stuff. And so when he was here, we videoed and had it lighted and set up the audio for the whole thing. And when he went away, I gave him a tablet and gave him a copy of everything on it. Like I do it everywhere.
Amazing. Okay, I could talk with you for another hour, but we can't right now.
I know.
So I know that I'm going to continue the conversation with you offline, and I know a lot of my listeners are going to want to do that as well. So what is the best next step for my people to take to
Yeah.
continue the conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to reach me is just go to Membrandt.com. And I want to spell that for you because there's a little trickiness. It's a play on words from Rembrandt, the painter. And so everybody knows that the gold standard is a Rembrandt. So we like calling it Membrandt for a membership site that is the gold standard. So it has a D at the end. So it's Membrandt.com. And if you go to Membrandt.com, you're not going to find a bunch of marketing and advertising there. So what you will find is a little form that you can fill out and get in touch with me. This is sold through private one-on-one demonstrations right now. I don't put our IP out there on display as we're still in that early development stage. But we've already done a couple 100,000 in revenue and are growing very quickly and have support for 8 different platforms and tons of integration. So you know, it's not that early. We're a year into it already, and I'd love to talk to you. Just reach out again at Membrandt.com, Membrandt.com, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you. And sorry if I was a little long-winded and over-passionate, but I love this stuff.
It was perfect. Absolutely perfect.